뭐야 다 가르쳐오래 당내리야 아니 최근에 선배이네 최체법병원에야 앞에 그런 남다체 펜베 300권의 최고고요래 오다 내당 아니 최선법병원에 장 안비게 가서오래 단도 되나 아니 배 어떤 예가에 대조의 밀리 캐와지니 아니 제가 왜 상계기 최단 제배 튀는데라야 랑그 턴다 뭐네 아니 동해 탐제 대회 타봐 아니 배신도 배밀훈도 탐제 캠페 고방사다 와 타바다 탐제 캠페 고방 전동년에 엔세나고요래 온도지
So, and especially one who preach or teach the Dharma, and the person who receive or contemplate on Dharma. So, the both sides should have a proper motivation. The motivation wish to achieve complete enlightenment for the sake of all the sentient beings. So, especially by understanding that having found this, the precious human rebirth, wishing to take the essence of this life, and especially wishing to once having met with the Buddha Dharma, so therefore having all the opportunity to attain not only the nirvana, but which has all the path leading oneself to complete enlightenment. So therefore one should develop strong wish to engage into the Dharma.
뭐야 다 제당 가서래 지금 될래야 탄다 아니 남대 시외 농도기 다 탐주 어다피게 도당아 전에 차상의 양다고 단답에 아니 배 가서래 다 단다 내도요 맞지 요 최단다 내도요 지금 될라 어다 비게 최단다 여봐 당연한 신 최된게 개외 신이 단다 여래 알아도 미치들라 배 폭마면서 여봐 아니 랑이네 다가사 대조류든特别 되들래야 원에 차내게 아니 배추 남다치 배 제냐무체 최 남다치 수도 이제 미지 배 리루지 간을 친제 배 조조 제대 티리스가 요 말에 난고 최대 조 가래서나 비게 생부치야 최죠 생부치야 최대 그뒤이네 내가 칭이네 내가 칭게 전에 비게 내가 칭게래 코스템 교바다요 나라 자가 투진 개주스 뭐네 차내다 남규 투진께 깨라 첨부치거든 봐. 니게 간가 내가 진행경에라도 와. 내가 진행나 내가 약하게 말을 많고 다 같이 내가 두자 작소로 된대다. 어느 것이 다이 것이 꾸먹군이 꾸먹으로 봐. 꾸먹군이 적주시행이 어디 된대다 데리디 최트니 심딩의 교바다 내가 진행이 되는 채탈이야. 어디 간다. 가서래. 동네 탐제방 그 타배고방 타고 장장인 거. 어디 세상 알아서다 직바로 봐. 어디 손다 이지 매지 다 냠nen데 최또 냠내 치바 최토 거 봐. 그래서 근데 지구는 기제 되는 거 정도죠.
So, especially with this proper motivation, one wish to practice or listen to the Dharma. So, as in this world, so by understanding that the fourth, the kind Buddha who appeared in this world, and also is the one who has shown the path to enlightenment, the sutra and tantra. At the same time, so that all the teachings that Buddha has taught, they're still remaining, and also the teachers or the master, the spiritual friend who is still present, who can show you the right path. At the same time, so having for us having all this, all the perfect and in the endowments and the leisures that we have in this human form. So being complete. So meaning that we having all the potential and opportunity, same time. So meeting with all these teachings. So that meeting with the great masters. So that is the great opportunity that we have now. So that with this opportunity, we need to develop thought to engage into pure Dharma. So engage into the practice of the Dharma. So which means not to give up whole this life, renounce and go to the mountains. So that is also not necessary, because the Dharma we practice, engage into the Dharma, means it has to less to do with the physically. So the main Dharma means to train one's mind. So therefore, to train one's own mind, so wherever we are, so then in our day-to-day life, whatever we work, so still it is possible that we can put Dharma into practice. Even while we are working, still we can engage into the practice of Dharma. So in this sense that even in the past, so there are so many great master has been born in this world, like 80 Mahasiddhas, so who was very famous in their practice and being able to achieve nirvana in one lifetime. So when we look into the life story of the great Mahasiddhas, then we can see the great, how they practice. And mostly they are not really fully renounced. So mostly they are like us, who engage into different types of profession, different work and so forth. Some are ironsmith, or some are just farmers, some are just thieves, or some are liar, whatever. So they have into so many different professions. But still, by engaging to Dharma, so those Mahasiddhas, the great the saints, so they were able to fully practice into Dharma and attain the great enlightenment in one lifetime. So therefore, by looking into their examples, surely also we can follow their path. So therefore, so to be able to purely practice the Dharma, so first we need to reflect on them, or first we need to listen and study this Dharma.
제장 최근에 개말한 게 최사들의 교연 단계 진비네 대반도 동네 누구야 마치고 지게래 대반도 동네 만들어 봐도 아주 찍버려요 제장 아니 대변 난고 쪼버디 가래서나 르기 대바다 생고 대변이 나는 생고 대바 쪼래요 또 어디서 인자 먼저 디티고 침배 최고 라제 난괴 티고 침배 최고 라제디 문에 단에 최케 말린 게 지네 강가 거야 장야리 니 상고고 기우고고요 봐 디기 그거 세다가 안 라야 제가 마고 편이요 말에 강가 거야 장야지리요 그래서 저불린 강래야 난괴 최고 라제디 문에 그 딱제 칭이지 다 해봐라 딱제 전에 어느 시리 개진돼서 다 신의 난괴 최고 라제디게 링크요 난괴 최대 최래면도 스타고도 체크 많이 했어 세리래자 삼례 삼례에 다야 세리래 샤스 온 대체 제가 간달랍자디 구구요
So therefore, like in engaging to the practice, the Dharma, so is also very important. So whether we are practitioner or not, whether we follow Dharma or not, the sentient beings, the people, or beings, those believe in Dharma or not, still the experience, wishing to be happy and not wanting suffering, is same. So we all want happiness and do not want suffering. So that is very much the basic the experience of our lives. So therefore, even within this, the happiness, so that there are the physical, the bodily happiness and mental happiness within there. So the mental happiness is the main the happiness that we aspire, longing. So therefore, also within the Mahayana teachings, all the instruction that are taught in the Mahayana teachings, so that are to train one's mind and way to find the happiness or the ultimate happiness through training one's mind. So to able to develop a mind, to be able to experience happiness through the mind is the basis of the practice of Dharma. So in this time, so within this lifetime, so as we all want happiness and do not want suffering, so that how we apply Dharma shows great difference in achieving the happiness. So in this present days, so there are so many beings, so many people, so that interested into these practices, and even the modern science now also through the analysis that Buddha Dharma is not just a religion, so it is the way to train one's mind and to really bring happiness and joy into one's life. So therefore we can see those the Mahayana teachings are such an instruction, so not only to lead oneself to the complete enlightenment, but also to give a happiness in this lifetime also.
아니 탑케라 투지청보다 내내 점바 상계 좀 된 되겠다. 타예의 심진 그게 내급 대반에 타라. 아니 타라 땡게 대바도 야체도 송으래. 지다 대리 학동 알아서 점불링 될라. 지금 점불링 디다 심지 체도 송어봐. 어디 송인자 아니 그게 심지 컴다 매바 치다 보시는 캔 송부 인자 원에 타네 다디 그게 말아서 디직딘 디난게 노브레도 말아서 디기긴 중내 노브레도 어디 송인자 어디 캔바체 대다 단다디 준주세한디 상계 존데데 미 송베 아니 그게 랍자디게 수냠네 체대보체 가사 내 당보면에 제가 냠네 체대보체다가 빼다 아니 빼도 거대버 임부티 마트데 송디 빼지다 된다 직세 마트데 송 거대버체 마송 어떤 거는 딜랍자 되서 병원에 타네 기타 송야던 게 마달로 동라고네 송어리디 이내야 나네 다다포 봐 기부 담바 망고디 냠네체 나 난거 요래라 나라서 이네 준주 dit다고 냠네체비는 쓰는 기와 맨로 미세요 셈베 부수 도군에 그디지 미시버지 디직때 냠네 칼레가 제비는 문에 타네 더다 첨부치 나라도 미지 되는 것도 오늘 다 탐지킨데 고마서 두비하고 어떻게 차상을 양 타고 있는 거죠.
So with that thought, so one need to engage in the practice Dharma, and at the same time the great master, the great the Buddha, who the enlightened one, so by his the great kindness and compassion and the skillful means, so the Buddha has taught so many teachings and the Dharma, so especially in this world, like for the sentient beings, so Buddha has taught Dharma according to the intelligent or mental capacity of the sentient beings. According to the acceptance of the sentient beings, Buddha had given so many different instructions, the teachings, and so all this, the precious teachings that leading oneself to complete enlightenment, showing which has the complete path, which has the unmistaken path, so that oneself, being able to achieve that the state of Buddha or complete enlightenment. So as we follow this, the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, the Santideva's, the teachings, also, the instruction that coming down from the Buddha, and which regarded as the practice, the teachings, so that which is very much simplified or very easy to understand, with all the the stressing on the examples and so forth, so which has the great depth and very much all the essence of the Dharma being included. At the same time, even though this the teachings had been thousands of years, still this teaching being very fresh, and also being able to apply it according to their time. So, especially all these teachings are meant to train, discipline one's mind, and to make this life meaningful, and at the finally leading oneself to complete enlightenment.
뭐야? 대체 다 되네. 다 캐세트는 막 쉬고이. 서베 타트만 다 그지 대인서 자등이 시탄 받들 봐. 왜? 자등이 시탄 받되나? 강지로 고동남면 줘발라. 텔라 펜다 레는 요베나. 대변 대다 뇌진 전화야. 탐지 성구시로 제압을 차서.
So we will continue with the text. So we are on the 6th chapter, the patience, and so now we'll start at the verse 120, 120. So here it says, therefore, since benefiting these beings will repay those who give their bodies and enter the deepest hell for their sake, I shall behave impeccably in all that I do, even if they cause me great deal of harm.
뭐야? 다들 강치를 다 아니 나랑서 땀바 상계 좀 되는데 그 로바랑과 내거라야 심진 그团이야 다 간다 어떻게 뭐는 전에게 진바다야 수중선에서 다 뭐는 전에게 아니 배 삼기 미겨지 나요 봐. 다디 가래서나 디 가사 나도 남기면은 디 송거를 봐. 가사 다 심지 돈도네 가사 다等等 가사데 로종 면은 송거이 봐. 어디 남겨 뜬 거이 봐. 심지 돈도 다 그네 까와 강시적이 시제되는 막 송양 되게 상계 좀 된대랑 송으래. 되게 주던데 송과 자와네요 막. 뭐 도저히 꿀림 되게 심지 된다래야. 꿀을 땅요. 어디 집어 땅요. 때문에 자네 그 아니 항상야 뭐네 디스나요 봐. 어디 디스 땅 나래서.
So as here, so when it says the benefiting the sentient beings, even by giving one's body, so or enter to the deepest hell of all their sake. So whichever way, so here meaning Buddha, the great being, who in the ordinary path, the common path, so that time, so the Buddha, for the sake of the sentient beings, so one make the great prayer and practice welfare of the sentient beings, even giving one's own life and so forth. So whichever way, so here showing that one need to practice the lojong or the thought transformation, the practice. So which is especially that engaging into the practice of the 6 perfections, or giving, morality, the practice of the patience and so forth. So by developing strong wish to benefit other sentient beings.
아니 나저도 상계 차네 안베 딱 간다 전부린 될이야 상계 좀 된데 패야 돼 상계 현다지만 망우요 당내 대버 요리 니기기 심지디 나랑서 딱 심지 쪄봤던 것은 니도 있어요 된데야 상계 간거 패면 파도 유에서 나다 간다 심진 그 쪄봐 됐어 년배 되더라 다자도 뭐 상계 좀 된데 그 뭐네 돼 아니 서로 개별 선전이야 독자와 친별배 고네 팬이 최소 선지 뭐네 다다상계 그때 맞춰 요르방 알아서 패배 다 패버들이야 나네 되게 된다나 생각도 된다나 대성도 될이야 파 딜리스거나 봐 딜리 드네 드네 마사나 딱고 가서 패도 쉽지 드네 마사나 직 가서 미타시를 차대요 봐.
So that we can see that the great, the Buddha, the fully enlightened ones, and especially Shakyamuni Buddha, so who come to this world at even the time, degenerate time, or the beings, those whose age, like in a lifespan, are like in 100 or so forth. So even during this time, so like it is just like there are like countless Buddhas, but the Shakyamuni Buddha is the one who has the deeper, so like with the connected with the sentient beings, so that who has decided to come this time to fully liberate countless sentient beings to enlightenment. So therefore so we need also not only that, what we need to see the great kindness of those Buddhas, or especially Shakyamuni Buddha, kindness before he when the Buddha was in common path or common rebirth, and also Buddha who fully enlightened also made the great effort to come to this world and liberate countless beings. So therefore the Buddha Shakyamuni being kind in so many ways, in so many times, so that so we must develop strong thought or wish to repay this kindness.
뭐야? 제자다 성결파 진리사야 될이야. 아니 샘진라 샘진사도 매번 나서 아니 가가 찍바면자 명모왕 그 쳐봤다. 어느 준너버차 되게 용거리도 이내 랑거톤에 비게 서베 편연 상에 서버 공야다. 아니 비게 샘젤리아 가래서나 언니 그 편봐 터두베 대와 가다 팬데 딱 뭐데 규인이 비게 꾸론데 남바타고 지제 비게 다 샘젤 팬데 grup이 있나? 안 비게 상게 틀리섬도 그랬어. 상게 뭐는 아주 전달 깔리게 꿀리게 틀리서봐야지. 어떻게 상게 그거 최바에 안 담고쳐요. 제가 틀리서 되는 거라서.
So, as Buddha has done greatly a benefit to us, shows this all this path and so forth. The best way to repay the Buddha's kindness, the best way is to as Buddha has benefit. So how we can repay is through training one's mind, engaging into the practice, especially training into the patience. So that's when we develop thought to benefit other, when you develop thought to work for the welfare of other sentient beings, when you develop the patience toward other sentient beings, and give the happiness to other with the any means, like directly or indirectly, so with the great effort. So when one engages into the benefit of other sentient beings, so then that practice becomes the great repaying the kindness of the enlightened one, or kindness of the Buddha.
타주도 편바 장장 베트리 세고르스다 뭐되기네 베 꾸론도 야고치 비게 편바 제스도 다스지 개목게 대베서로 삼바 나고치 디자데 편바 쓰고마 꾸론 남바 타고치 주시고는 주보 어느 비게 잠별도 산잠보 간다 타주도 편바지 꾸론나지 대체 와야 돼先年다 아이 비게 조랑게 비게 보면 돼 꾸론 남바 타고 참석 공부송 어떠신
So, like when we benefit other sentient beings, when we work for the welfare of other sentient beings, we need to have this proper mind or motivation, the actual mind, the altruistic mind should be developed. So, and also it should be very pure. So, like genuine, so that not to really somehow. Not to despise or not to somehow it should be completely as in a genuine thought. Next verse. When for their sake those who are my lords have no regard even for their own bodies, then why am I the fool, so full of the self-importance? Why do I not act like a servant towards them?
나 리식 자체상 다 군데 겨 뿐이라나 내가 상계 좀된 되기 나 심지 통도 비게 다 간다 랑 꿀을 미스 걸어야 아니 배 팬도 타이야 진짜 그래 탄다 재신 말이스 딘데지 임발라 랑 뭔가 다 되비 심지는 비게 다 간다 통중的캐수제는 너버체 어디 대체 아니 랑 나게스 안 된다 묘모가 나게스 라나 가가 연대 매와다 가게지 매신도 여봐봤지니 애는 심지는 비게 가사 통중제네 꾸인기 텐도스 다 비게 심지 그 돈이야 내가 마셔야 돼야지 딘데 제한테 되게 말했어 제가 너도나 아니 비게 심지는 비게 뭐 그네 팬버도 그러서
So, and similarly, when we look at the great Buddha, so the action of Buddha, so they always for the other sentient beings. So, like even there's no, and they never look into one's own self or body. So even for the sake of other sentient beings, Buddha in the past, they were so willing to give away their own body or life whatsoever. So solely the main purpose is to help or benefit other sentient beings. So when we look into the great action of Buddha, so then when we look into ourselves, so it is it seems very completely different. So if we want the great the thought, great the happiness and so forth. So if we follow the actual path, then one should follow like a Buddha. So like one should not develop such a thought coming out of ignorance, or like the thought coming out of pride, always developing strong kind of thought to despise other beings. So those thoughts are the harmful thought, so which always always like not beneficial to other sentient beings. So therefore so to be able to work for the other sentient beings, to develop the altruistic mind, to be beneficial, so one's mind always try to be free from those the mind, like the pride and so forth, that all this the negative mind that is coming from the ignorant mind.
간다 대비 토나 계규신 간란내나 메기 종기로 봐 대다까지 토바꾼 계신 될란내시 토반남 거기서 토블라 내버쳐서.
So next verse 122. Because of their happiness, the conquerors are delighted, but if they are harmed, they are displeased. Hence, the pleasing them, I shall delight the conquerors, and by harming them, I shall hurt the conquerors.
다 간다 심진 간다 심진을 야 되게라 아니 템바다 대버 로베이나 토바 상계 좀 되대 당 우리 토바 상계 좀 되대로서 상계 탐지 아니 그 토게 다 간다 토게에 쳐봐 차는 그랬어 다 심진 너베 경기 대비나 이게 타지 이게 너베 게 되게 지기드나 상계 탐지 토 매개 번 그랬어 매개 받아 아니 가서 된다라야 심지어 내가 제대로 되나 아니 그게 가서 상계 내가 쳐버도 그랬어 상계를 내고요 내가 쳐버렸어 상계 내가 쳐는 되고 전부 쉬우사로 그러봐 대마도 상계 신내야 내 지도야 말 심지어 내가 친게 대비는 상계를 내가 되고 전부 사로
So this verse explains that because of their happiness, so that the Buddha are delighted. So that meaning that if through the altruistic mind, when we benefit, when we give happiness to the sentient beings, so that's a way to please, way to please the Buddha. So way to please the Buddha, and if if we bring harm to the sentient beings, and that displeases Buddha. So that shows, whether whether we please Buddha or not. So that depends on our action. So if we harm the sentient beings, so definitely we are bringing the displease to the Buddha. So therefore, so they want to analyze and to work according to our action, becomes very important.
Chida lula kuine memba wa dewa kuine yidi mingyo wa tishin semje neba chena ya tuji chenam gebe tame dosa.
So next verse, just as desirable sense objects will give my mind no pleasure, if my body was ablaze with fire, likewise when living creatures are in pain, there's no way for compassionate one to be pleased.
Ta de perna lula kuine memba shima ta lula be me ba ni tinte suyebe tuyetele ya mitela michi lula memba yune mitela ya ani kasore ani be kala shimbute yatta tene thoba yon thoya ma kala shimbute daga nan shi ani be na be tanye ba ba ta sukta tiro tanye bo be tamye ro ta be khada khar chene 어디 대반 연구 많소 다녀 보 팀마신 부르스 두기 때문에 팀만 연구 많았어 티신 봐 내가 티 소다 티로 렉자 잡고 거야 때에 어디 가다 가르치는 렉자 잡고 제비네 어떨 일 때버 주고 말바스 티페레디요.
So in this verse explaining that if one's body is in a blaze with the fire, then there's the great extreme pain or suffering. So during that time, so like there's no one will have kind of joy or happiness because one is in suffering. So during that time, so no any senses, like we have 5 senses, so that whatever, like nice food or whatever, the through nice things or whatever, through seeing, through listening, or through smell, taste, and also the physical contact, whatever things that we may have, so the best things still that will not bring happiness into oneself, because one's body being in the fire.
티테 레가르베티 아니 상게래 양원에 비게 쳐봐 비 찍찍이 된 상게 독기게 말했어 어때 찍거래 내 날이야 배 루식 되기지래야 아니 베세도 거기다 가래 때문에 그 가서 되게 연구 말아 되나시 심지어 내가 그냥 찍이 돼 상게를 겹선도 어떤 상게를 쳐봐 비 전에 독기게 말했어.
So likewise, so that when we give harm to the sentient beings, so and and also pray to Buddha, take refuge and engage. So when we think we're making prayer and doing dharma, but still the other mind, especially harming other sentient beings, bringing pain and unhappiness to the other sentient beings. So so in that sense, the one will not develop any kind of the dharma, or one will not really please the Buddha. So as you are bringing unhappiness and pain to the sentient beings. So next verse, therefore as I have caused harm to living beings, today I openly declare all my unwholesome acts that have brought displeasure to the compassionate ones. Please bear with me, O Lords, for this displeasure I have caused to you.
제상다 안에마 가르스나 로마 걸론데 봐 망고 체네 랑게 단다 챈데레 데 사바랑 가면 딱 섭탕 거 자이가 말아 제가 망고 미시왕 거 심전데 봐 망고 체니 다디 찍네 아니 상계 그 메기 버기고요 상계 되네 디고 직사고 어디니네 심전을 코라서 내가 제빈 데부터 라나 동네 연구요 그도 심전 동네서 랑신 이분 사디 제가 다디 강 체와 탐지 아니 디고디 야 상계 되네 디고 사바다 마스미된 스고 디고 사바디 되는 소소샤 소소소 되게 샥바 지기 다배 마샤바지 셰바다 되게 가서 오래 백문에 전에 그 노샤 진짜 샤네 일단 또 미게바 가려는 베타 게바시 나로나 베트 서버스기 있다 냐마데 공다 토된 다이는 다내지지 아니 오다 딘데 게메데 노샤 진짜 야 샥바 피고 있어
So, from the countless lifetimes in the past that we may have created negative karma through harming other sentient beings, and also through despising or through ignorant mind, so towards Buddha. So on non-virtuous act that cause the harm to Buddhas and sentient beings. So till now, so we may have caused so many. All these things are the cause that leading oneself and others to the unhappiness, suffering, and to the lower rebels. So for that, and that only bring unfortunate the results for oneself and other. So therefore, from this act, harming sentient beings, and also through the inappropriate act towards Buddha, so that bring so many negative karma. So that negative karma, so that one have accumulated, so that only bring unhappiness. So for this life and next life, so in order to purify this, so one should also develop strong thought of remorse, strong thought, like a confession. So thinking saying that directly to the Buddhas, and so to bear with one's the actions and to purify all the wrongs that one has done in the past.
연대 편에서 그 디그 레벨 동에 연구요래. 어다 동에마도 요하야 말. 얘네야 샥범 챤나. 아니 이게 디그 전부 용에 챤다가 용에 있네 그 매우 소도요. 다디 디그 연대스라 거봐. 디그 연대레스디. 제가 먼저 아니 도지선배 검대체야 다다가나 신 가서 오래. 동샤 됐던 거라 봤던 디 샤동샤. 됐을 뭐네 자네게 시우지기 답해도 전부 시우래요. 되고 사사 미시오완 딱딘 레부디 냐모고 소거라. 그는 알아서 미르딘 터봐. 상계 최된 제네. 어째서 더나 다음에 타네 보우리. 랑거 전다 뭐네 미르딘 레네. 전다 제벌 다가랭엘 신다 전다 뭐저 랑거 전다 동이 냐모고 소여버 봐. 어디 딘데스나도 뭐네 전다 첨보래. 근데 지나서 망고 딘난 것도 와. 딘데나니 망고도 최단
So, excuse me. As we see that when we talk about negative karma, so or the non-virtuous karma, so non-virtuous karma or negative karma results into suffering, and we see that non-virtuous always leading oneself to the unfortunate rebirth and suffering. So therefore, you don't see any goodness. There's no goodness in this, negative karma. So, but only thing that we can see quality of negative karma is something that can be purified. So in that sense, we can see some positiveness within this, the negative karma, so that one can purify the karma that one have accumulated, or then that one have committed from the so many lives or this lifetime and so forth. So that that might result not only suffering this life but also to the future lives and being born in lower rebirth. So as we understand the way that one can overcome all the suffering and purify all the negative that one has committed from the past is to do purification practice. So as here, so there are so many practitioners, those who would engage into those dharma, and by knowing this and through the ignorance we commit negative karma. So in order to purify that, we engage into the different paths and practices, like a practice of Bodhisattva, the practice of 35 Buddhas and making prostrations, and doing all different types of accumulated merit that enable one to purify all the negative karmas that one have done in the past, knowingly or unknowingly. And also, if one is able to do these practices, and this becomes, this can be very meaningful way of practice. Once having found this opportunity, by having found this precious human rebirth, so this kind of the opportunity should one should take. And also if one is able to make this the opportunity and also engage in a practice, so that is very the somehow being able to take the essence of this life and make this life meaningful by engaging to Dharma. As I felt and see that many of you engage into those the practices, so that that's the practice that we all we all have to rejoice on those practices. That's the one way that leading oneself and other to the complete enlightenment.
대시신은 개월에 일에도 대내 니든 지든 텐도치 로마도 왜다게 지속은 공장에도 지든 왜제죠.
So the verse 25, from now on, in order to delight the Tathagatas, I shall serve the universe and definitely cease to cause harm. Although many beings may kick and stamp upon the head, even at the risk of dying, may I delight the protectors of the world by not retaliating.
다디 즉고 되버려서 저서 다디 이제와 탐제 안에 또 개와 동녀보 용야 체도 뒤 대내선데 단단내 손데 안 비게 가서 네들 랑가 쥐어봐 녀바티게 파 뚫니 안 비게 쥐어봐 상보 어떤 비게 semje 비타 손들이 나 팬바 둥비치 쥐어봐 상보 지기 어떤 다 캐내려샤 지기 송
So in this verse, clearly one can see that to develop strong thought, and also to develop strong kind of the thought, not to create any harm to other beings, and develop the positive thought and also the positive conduct, and by not harming other sentient beings, and not to create any negative karma towards other sentient beings, having strong the mindset to be able to delight or like somehow please the great Buddhas.
어디서 도마도게다 어다 심지 망보 비게 그래서 다 망보 왕게 엔베란이야다 너바 첸 배 컨디 너바 컨디 제비는서 다 너바 컨디 좀 딜렌이야 파 너베 렌치네스 순 너바 첸나 파 녜만 너바 치고 다 등사 다파 순 너바 첸 파 너렌 치네 너베 렌드 치기면스 당도라기 서버 공부이 심모투고 치기니 서다 비게 미투고 서베 심모투고 체 어디 지금이 다 될 때는 엔베 지든 공부 상계 좀 된데베 또 개바 충분히 타는 거다 나오나.
So so here developing thought to delight Buddha is not to create any harm to other beings by practicing the good conduct, the positive conduct, and at the same time developing the great patience, the great tolerance. So, so there might be many sentient beings who may want to harm you in so many ways, physically or mentally. So, or like whatever they may try to harm you, but one should try to practice. One will try to practice patience and tolerance by, and also never to retaliate. So whatever harms other sentient being may cause, and so this kind of practice becomes a way to really please all the Buddhas.
Voilà, 다 로반디 투지 딱진디 다 돈좀 받대라. 태면송 태송 매서. 셈정 오고 통만 대단히 고엔데 단히 지지 그미지.
So next verse 126. There is no doubt that those with the nature of compassion regard all those beings to be the same as themselves. Furthermore, those who see the Buddha nature as the nature of sentient beings see the Buddha themselves. Why then do I need to respect sentient beings?
다 로반 디군 다 미 통야 되서 또 예배스러. 간대가 간가 통야 되서 간가. 아니 독지 첨부 당이 이제 상계기 나중고 상계 좀 된대기 다도 송네. 딱고대 상계 좀 된대래도 알았다. 그래서甚至디기 그때와 쭉 동해반에 때문에 배 간다 상계기 간가 생 어디 또 딱고견도 알았어. 딱고대 상계 레디 알아. 제장 아주甚至되게 순도 통네.甚至다 양이 그래 통이는 야, 니 딱고대 뭐네 타네 랑금 공다 고교 공리의 상계를 상계기 디가서 디게甚至디게 딱고대 상계 인단이야 맞지?甚至될비게 너버치기야 말스. 너버치 디게 말스. 지지 너버치비는 상계 딱고대 상계를 돼요. 제가 디게 말았어.
So here showing that by understanding that through the great compassion, so Buddha always take care of all the sentient beings. When Buddha regard all the the sentient beings as one's own, and so therefore if we harm sentient beings, then also we are creating a cause of harm to the Buddha. So therefore, by seeing this, so one should not harm those sentient beings.
Voilà, 아디오. 닝이 디신세 완예제이 랑도 양다조반 닝이도 지금 동행세와 닝이도 대대 다하게 딱도 닝이 차서.
So next verse. Pleasing living beings delight the Tathagatas and perfectly accomplishes my own purpose as well. In addition, it dispels the pain and the misery of the universe. Therefore, I should always practice it.
Voilà, 다 섬진리야 안비게 너와 맞춰버체. 서버kom네. 또 가래서나 스미두고체 안에 참바다 저에 봐. 서버kom야디 상계 좀 된데 니바 제가 처벌하는 매와 데리샤스. 어디리스? 찍데리. 니바데 가래서나 랑가테 세 나가네 제제 비게 미상 곳이 약보다 세 나가네 제 미가가 가보용야 랑가테 두베 아니 왔다 랑가테 다 두베데 어디리디요 찍 니바체 숨바데 가래서나 아니 직딩게 심진 생게 된치야 심지 그 동에서야 다가는 시비게 동에서야서 봐 동에서야 데리샤스 데레스 숨바티 다들 시방 알아서 개시슈디 상계 고반로 상계 등이 타지면 상계 고반 그 두비아디 랑게 되다 두비아디 심진 네스빵 잡아보면디 다 들으셔가 싶으면 제가 다들 뭐네 전에 내 제과야를 제고 그래서 링이 자서 내 제고 그랬어.
So as to pleasing living beings, so delight Tathagata. So that meaning, you know, practicing the patience, patience the way to delight all the Buddhas, and also that meaning practicing patience, the practice with the great love and compassion. The practice of patience is the great the repaying to the Buddha, or like the somehow very special, or the great uncommon practice. The patience, the practicing patience to all the sentient beings is the special practice or the great offering to the Buddha. So that the practice of patience will not only delight all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but also one will accomplish one's the achievements, and also being able to benefit many sentient beings, and also not harming other sentient beings, and also somehow never bring the suffering to other sentient beings, and also leading oneself, one's the practice towards the achievement of Buddha. So by seeing all this the benefits, then one should develop strong thought. So one must practice patience towards all the sentient beings.
다되네 배는 개부 명가시 개부 망라 뇌세장 개부 매장 정부타 뇌장 친뇌 미지디 대다 티지 만이기 개부 봉도 대봉서.
So next verse it says that for example, should some of the king's men cause harm to many people, far-sighted men will not return the harm, even if they were able to do so.
다데 베레 베나르지나 개부 봉도 첨부 용기 왕 첨부 용기 tinde지기 달롬보스나 개부 틸땡이 tinde지기 미망볼로 내버체네 그 내버치기 예비이네 아니 개부 미경은 뭐 스타 거래서 다른 거 통통게 배 포를 삼로 단통게 삼로 유름 단통이 미이나 아니 크도 다가 그 내버친 파 렌체제 코파 비게 가서 파 내버치 통이 또 예비이네 소소 또 예비이네 뒤치기 말 내버치기 말 스테파 넘버텔 넘버데 제비네 가래서나 딜롬부터 지고 말이 뒤ገብ로 개보요 고 개보 또 공도요 세상 콜더 내버치도 우리 주고 개보 또 첨부 손자 폭을랑 저 내버치거 봐 어디 손이자 세상 뒤지고 된다 말이 그 지고 말이 넘버 지고 말 뒤ገብ로 개보요 그래서 제가 내버 맞지 거야 돼.
So one can see here, like clearly showing the example. So should some of king's men cause harm to many people, so the far-sighted man or like wise man will not return the harm. So by seeing that even though they might have ability to retaliate or so on, but they will not, because they see those men who harm are not alone, but they are the supported by the mighty of the king. So if you also the verse 29, so the first two lines, for they see that those men are not alone but are supported by the mighty of the king.
대신 뇌지 냠쇼와 가야 캐도 수메차 디다른 예배 송마다 투지 내는 대봉사.
So likewise, I should not underestimate weak beings who cause me little harm. So and verse continues on the 130. So for they are supported by the guardians of hell and by all the compassionate ones.
어다 배등기되는 신체 다 그게 선진 냠중중 파랑은 너버치는 너버 제투바지 이미네 너버치 요 말했어. 그래서나 초직내 뒤ገብ로래야 심진 겹로래야 예배 송어요. 예배 송어 라는 그게 예송으로 홍네 두고 다니 그게 라는 팀주선 다니 예배 송어 지요. 즉 그래서는 예발 홍해야 돼. 심진 너버체네 고 어떤 예발 rāngā lē sāmi hōnggō rō, chē zāng nyebē sōngō tī sēmshē gyab lō bōngdō rē, sīk chē. Nyebē dī tī gyab lō lī yā tūkshī chēmbō tēmbē, dā gō sāngyē yō rē sī. Chē zāng tī bōng rī, chē zāng sēmshē nyāng chūn chū pā nyebā chē tūku yō nē, chī gyū yō mō tī bōngdō chēmbō rē rā sōng.
So as example, so then you can see that so what one should do is like one should not underestimate weak beings who cause me little harm. So that means like one should not cause any harm to those beings that we can see those are very weak, or like that you think that you can harm easily or retaliate and so forth, cause harm and so somehow destroy them, because so just like that example, so those the weak sentient beings are supported by the guardians of hell. So the the king of hell or the guardians of hell. So because like any causing harm to the sentient beings, so then it will be easily punished by those the guardians of hell. And not only that, the secondly, so that also those sentient beings are supported by compassionate ones. So the Buddha who always care and to look upon all those the sentient beings. So therefore, by seeing this, one shouldn't just underestimate or harm those weak sentient beings.
대대 망기 계동신 샘제 남는 고바르 차사 고바르 차사 개보다시 터나야 샘지 미국 제바이 묘마교가 강이 바 예벤네바티 제탐서.
So behaving like the subject of the fiery king, I should please all sentient beings. So verse 131, even if such a king were to become angry, could he cause the pain of hell? So which is the fruit I will have to experience by displeasing sentient beings.
다 개부 tumbu sana be kontu chimbo sere kontu 개부 be lunglang bu tin ji na ani di yue mang ti zu 개부 len zam sui chen shuan chen na ma do ko kontu lang chu zhe de ba wo shuan chi ge de ba si wo de ten nang xin en sim je be ge ji lunglang bu de sim je di de yue ne wo de le pa ne ba chi ma shuan chi wo de so
So here showing that so behaving like the subject of the fiery king. So even though king is so aggressive or so very short-tempered, so then the people will not show any kind of a negative reaction. So but they will also try to practice patience. So similarly, even though there might be sentient beings, those who are like short-tempered or those who easily annoyed, so one should always practice patience to them all.
다 개볼이야 은비게 가사 뭐라서 우리 다 개부터부터 배치 처제직 자체네 central 직동이 직소야지만도 다른 거 소도고 말했어. 쉽지 소도야 말해. semje 먹고지 semje 파는밖에 된데 신기 때나 어떤 거는 자네게 동이 빡도 매버지. 빼는 여부터도 깨야지 된데 소고래. 제가 어다 개부터다 군이 되고 말해. 제가 semje를 begin 내가 신기 때나 라는 동이 빡도 매고 있는 거래서.
So here, the example showing that even like somehow if we retaliate the fiery king or those short-tempered ones, one may just suffer or like punishment for this lifetime. But if we cause harm to those sentient beings, those who have short temper and so forth, then if we don't practice patience on them, so then that will create unfortunate experiences or the result for many lives in the future lifetimes. So that may cause one to be born in the lower rebirth and so forth. So therefore, even the pain and the result, the experience becomes much greater than that of the king.
몰라. 아도 개보다 신고는 심정고바 제바이 토바기바 아니바 상계 니지 미스토사.
So next verse, and even if such a king were to be kind, he could not possibly grant me Buddhahood, which is the fruit I would obtain by pleasing sentient beings.
몰라. 다 유비 개보직 더우집에 간다고 고바체네. 가르 제세는 대체 간다 가서 오래. 다배 개보도 배녀버지 가르 제세는 제 깔에 자가 제비이네. 개보디 상계 고바 때도 말했어. 샘진이야 아니 비게 서바체 네바 마체버지 서바야고 곰네. 어떤 비게 내가 그때반에 제 타락가를 상계 고바 사도 어떤 비네 토고리 디 샘진 때도 그랬어.
So that comparing the king and the sentient beings. So for the king, so whichever way we may be kind and try to please the king by doing any kind of sort of action and so forth, but that will not will give us Buddhahood. But if if like one were to practice patience to those sentient beings, tolerance and practice their patience, then definitely it will create cause, it will lead oneself, or in the fruit that will lead oneself to the complete enlightenment.
Start what? Semjin gole chomai mawon sangye rupta shok chedingen la pechen ta ta ki ji ma tong sa.
So the next verse it says, why do I not see that my future attainment of Buddhahood, as well as glory, renown and happiness in this very life, all come from pleasing sentient beings?
다 semjin li ya neba ma che ba che ani bige chamba da yiwong ge chamba da za wa ni ji sim sa pa kwam ni oda bige semjin la bige dinde chebi na din de go tele ya 마음발다 상계 톱도 상계 연구를 마음발 상계 영어 시에고 그 말했어 마음발라 천다가라나 미게 통사라나야 엔베게 가르스나 배다 와다들이 다 표선 써봐 벤저 표선 써봐 아니 파르 표선 써봐 어다 가르스나 롱저 표선 써봐 요야 년다 깨다 첨부 요야 년다 상부서 년다 상부 요야 어다 가르스나 류대와 셈기버사데 미게 통사 연구를 통구 면도에 해서 지마통 통구 면도에 해서 어디 가서 세변 되고 그랬어.
So the practicing patience becomes a great cause to bring all the health and happiness. So here when the verse is, why do I not see that my future attainment Buddhahood? So by practicing the patience towards all the sentient beings, by meditating on the great love and compassion towards all the sentient beings, so definitely in the future that will bring that will bring the Buddhahood, or the lead oneself to the complete enlightenment. Not only that, even in the present, so that will bring the great the glory or prosperity, renown and happiness in this very lifetime. So the meaning, bringing prosperity, wealth, bringing the happiness, and at the same time bringing joy to the happy, joy to the mind and joy to the body. So physical and mentally being happy. So that is main due to practicing patience, or practicing the tolerance towards all the sentient beings.
Voilà, c'est 다 되어왔더라. 포즈随便 제소다. 내면 받아. 타과이. 신도 유령 처바다. 콜리기비 되게 덥어.
So the next verse is this, while in cyclic existence, patience causes beauty, health, and renown. Because of this, I shall live for a very long time and win the extensive pleasure of the universal Sakura kings.
뭐랬어? 다 상마게베체 디바루 달이야. 코발 게발레 게비네. 어떤 서바 예비이나 서바체 너바 심제 너마죠. 서바체제 sem모도부치 예비이나. 아니 걔네 여름야지 기그래서 예손 마동체 용그레스. 다 페나로지 밀게비나. 다 걔네 상 알레 코발 밀게비이네. 서벤 되고는 제바. 서벤 제신 제바. 깨고 당발로 판다로. 서바산디 공배 되고려야 알레 믹스된 제바 되지래. 제바. 수군 제보 영향이 뭐 규루데 가르스나. 서바 공배 되고 돼요.
So here, when we practice patience with the great the thought, with the loving compassion, so the practice of patience in the long term, in the finally leading oneself to complete enlightenment, and also not only that, so like in even many future lives, that will one will not be born in the lower rebirth, the sufferings, and even before becoming a Buddha, so one will even as being, if one is being born as a human being, then the result of the practicing patience will lead oneself to have the extensive qualities such as beauty, health, and renown. So like showing that the direct result or temporary result, the fruit of practicing patience is to have beauty. To have beauty is the direct result of the practicing patience.
어디체 다 간다. 수군 제바. 미간게 통 되고 영화죠라 통 되고. 상계 구소인의 통은 믿음 매버서로 어디다 되는 시제. 나랑 주민 제바대도 관계 통난 되고 영화. 그 통보다가 미간가 봐 가고 영화. 통난 되고 영화디随便 가사 随便 되고래. 미통이만 되버체 통보다가 비게 다 미동이 우동 동이 어디도 가려서는 컨트롤 되버려. 컨트롤. 그 근데 루바요 말아.随便 되고는 제신이도 마치 컨트롤 되고라. 아니 미도고수 어디다 된대 힘들.
So showing the great, the fruit, the result of the patience. So even in the very lifetime, or like while one is born in the human beings, or like any beings and so forth. So that having the great nature, the nature of the beauty or renown or healthy, and same time. So the somehow the showing the very the humble nature. So just by looking that, showing the great positiveness within oneself. So just by having the nature of positiveness, so showing that when people or any other being see the person, so with the great the beauty or something that very like a Buddha's image, so which has a great the nature of the somehow peace, or somehow the beauty, or somehow it brings joy into the hearts of all other beings. So similarly, the benefit of practicing patience similarly bring that kind of experiences to the other person. So like somehow having great having the ability of a nature of within oneself.
잡았지. 되네 내면 받은. 어디다 서베 되볼이야. 아니 되게 내면 봐. 심지어 맞죠. 다 네가서 내내 봐. 어디다 되는 거서 내면 받은.
So as the anger resulting into the negative the experience at the same time, and also the result of the patience, so bringing the health, so like less sickness.
타고 다가라 봐. 네네 봐. 심진도 마치 네네 봐도 그래서는 나자망고 뒤에 가서 동대 내만 심진 그게 동대 단 녀다 단야다 어디 녀다 단 어디 간다베 너가 제딘 데볼이야 랑리야 어느 나자망고 차다 나자망고 그 규주 알아 봐. 심진 너가 제 동대 단베 데볼이야 랑 나자망고 권하게 살 강바다 간다 나자망고 쉬면야 돼 어디래 거 유럽 뒤래 아니 가시에 단다 뒤에 연구도 와 계유드네 라고면게 강파면게 뒤미 그런 뒤에 계수증이 수지 매봐 그때 가르스는 게면 레 네바사 미스템지 그 라고체 신다 강바체 뒤집은 데부터 랑 강파매 다시고 락바매 그게 내 연구도 와 어디 가르스는 데부터 네바 체면 되고
So this shows the direct the law of cause and effect. So when we believe in law of cause and effect, so then we can see the actual result that we have in the the obvious manner. So like being healthy, showing that the great practice of the patience or the virtue, and having so many sickness and disease and so forth, that is also the just negative way. So the because of negative karma that one has committed in the past, so that ripening oneself in the present as disease or sickness or pain and so forth, so they all are the related to the previous karma, the past karma. So that the karma ripening, so that bringing to the happiness, the suffering. Sorry, bringing that karma ripening to the suffering or pain and so forth. So in the same way that bringing health, the same way that negative karma bringing unhappiness. So this all to do with our the past, the accumulation of karma. So that according to the karma, so as it says the karma once created will not dissipate. So the cause and effect. So therefore the law of cause and karma. So that as follows according to our actions, according to our practice.
네 멤버당 타과 있어 타과 살다 깨라 첨보 생다가란 쓰고다 아니 근데 마치 서버 고민도 서버 연구되게 깨라 쳐요 깨라 야가티 깨라 차요 또 그래서는 심진의 비게 그래서는 그게 서버 고민 딱 깨라 그 약고용야 그디 교류부터 그래서 신 똥아 다양 쇼르바 떠봐 맹아 마당시 매라 마당시 떠봐 다양 쇼르바 어디 제변 되고 라리아 떠봐 다양 어디 뒤에 요구요 어디 도시
So similarly that the law of cause and effect, the karma, so that we can see that whatever non-virtuous karma, the action that one has done, that will ripen to oneself. So similarly the renown, so by practicing patience, so also resulting to become renown. So like achieving, being famous or known by so many beings and so forth. So that is also the result of the practice of patience, and that similar way that if one does not practice patience, or like like for example like fame and defame, so like the insult or despise. So when one experience defamation or like the insult or despising, so that also due to the karma that one in the past, so one have harmed other or despised, one have criticized, so that cause oneself to have defame or like somehow the criticism. The same thing that the action ripening oneself. So therefore the whatever karma one creates, so that will ripen to oneself. So similarly, so here like explaining that the practice of patience, how benefit one can achieve. So even the practice of patience leading oneself, resulting to have renown.
신도 유령 초바다 어따 비게 유령보 세령보 영향 됐어 세령보 영향 어다 데semje növa mevche bige növa ma gebche semje takanda sedringbu gyurubde karasana 세다다도 소루다야 어semje növa ma chepji pembatum 어디 debol야 아니 sedring부용부요 어디 그대래.
So similarly, resulting oneself to have a long life and living for a long time. So that means the result that one experiences through practicing one's the conduct by not harming other sentient beings. So not only that, so also benefiting other sentient beings by giving life. So something like the animal liberation. So doing something like giving life to other sentient beings, saving life of other sentient beings. So those are the karma that will lead oneself to have a long life, the healthy life, and also very positive life. So that is not harmed by any other sentient beings.
어디지? 딱한다 솔루치아도 되바 대시 그슨 쉬우체서 되나시 다데 도와주 시락로 소야 거래샤. 자잔 대조 솔루치아도 지난 팬도 첨벌에 나란도 진버체나 진버 나바 시작으로 성승민지 그래서 최단 참소 어디디 오늘 전에기 성승의 진버사디 현라 비게 소소박 또 거대야 대수 쓰기요. 어디서 야처바 표야 대조래 내 집에 나게 마셔래 다 네가나 가래서나 지단다 표현 좀 보시라래 네가나 미지고 깨기 집었어 단다 네 솔루 땅야디 미지고 깨기 집어래 오늘 전에기다 표현 좀 보시오지 오늘 전에기다 세정 것도 마세기다 오늘 전에 표현 좀 깨기 집어래 어디체 미지고 깨기 집었어 제 엔다 네가나 야 가래서나 또 초고된 것도가 꾸노 남다던 어디 추억지 봐도요. 추억지 봐치. 아니 꾸노데 참박히유나. 자바 참바데 자박히유나 참배지 진박간가. 딱딱거려 진박 시거도요. 뭐네 다네기다. 표현 첨부 상기 미겨고 지단 전에 첨부해 말와 이네 다 시부지 뭐네 다네 표현 첨부를 해요. 디디께는 너가 싫어하는 것도 어떤 뭐네 다네. 이나 제수 이나 쉬어야이다.
So here we say that so live for long life, and so that long life, so resulting that ripening from the karma that one have committed by saving other life or not harming other sentient beings and doing animal liberation. As recently we did this animal liberation, so it seems that is very good act and a very good karma to accumulate. So not only just for oneself, but you can see the practice of doing animal liberation has a great benefit. Very extensive benefit are explained. So therefore, doing animal liberation, so that you see, it becomes a practice of generosity or the practice of giving. So there are 4 types of practice of giving. Excuse me. So 4 types of the practice of giving, so that are explained. So the first one is giving material aid, and also the second one, giving protection to the sentient beings, and the third one giving dharma, and the fourth one love. So therefore, so when we practice this the animal liberation, so there it seems that we are doing all the practice of generosity, all the 4 types of practice, as we give the animal, so first the material or not material, the food, or water, so whatever, so they may sustain through those the foods. So when we liberate sentient beings, at the same time, so second, the giving protection means giving them life, so somehow saving their life and freeing their life. So thirdly, the giving dharma is like when we liberate the animals, then we say prayers, mantras, we recite. So when you recite mantra and so forth, so then the giving the water, giving mantra, so and also giving life. So all this becomes the practice of perfection. So the perfection of generosity. At the same time, when we liberate this sentient being with a strong mind of compassion, strong mind of love, and the genuine good heart, so then it becomes all the four aspect of the generosity. So where all the generosity are there, and it becomes very much pure practice and very profound practice of generosity. So therefore, so I heard and we see that here we do lots of animal liberation. So that is very much the great practice of generosity. And from myself, I feel rejoice and I feel very happy that we are here able to do those animal liberations.
소보다 콜리기에 되게도사 다가라서 비게 가서래 다 미나게 배 쪼르도 콜리기에 개버서 오다 딘데기 비게 대바다 비게 가래서 다 딘데기 다 간다 배다 간다 왕단 참벌 소보도 간가 영야디 세벤데 버레스 세다가 가서 산 마게베 버르레 딘데 영야디 세벤데 버레 산게데 시에고 말에 마옹발
So here even it says, the positive karma or the fruit of practicing patience, that leading oneself to become the universal, the chakra king. So, and finally, the fruit of the practicing patience is to achieve complete enlightenment. So therefore, before becoming a Buddha or achieving complete enlightenment, so there are so many benefits or the result that may experience while we are in this, the existence. So in brief, so the practicing patience, the practicing tolerance has so much great benefit. And so this becomes the way or the path, so that leading all the sentient beings to the complete enlightenment.
어떠잖아. 되게 더 들으셔. 전주선배 저발은 저발은 세벨리부터 두고 다 세벨리 뒤에 두송하고 청소.
Yes. So this completes the 6th chapter, the chapter of patience.
어떠지다? 세벨리우디 지단 가래선다 준주 나려야 강가 표현심보 뒤나네 하장 세벨리우디 개심보래 뒤야래. 그래서는 강의 체에 커돌라. 디스 비게 딱 강가대 용마 뒤나네 레전 요래다 커돌 레전 된 소소티 상담이나 배티 강의 체도 동년시야소디 동년시야. 오 라라랍자 강의 쓰는다. 오다 디 쉽지 표현 첨보래 뒤야.
So this the 6th chapter, the patience, is the very one of the core practice, one of the very important practice within this Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. So here in this chapter, in the giving the detailed explanation of the practice of patience and explaining the benefit, explaining the what the patience means and how one can practice. So then individual person by following this practice can gain so much benefit. Is such a great practice that we need to apply. So therefore this practice becomes one of the very important practice within this text.
가시에 강의 시부터 강의 태 오다 배 강의 태 소조고면도 상상 된데 그 상바 예배 거둘이야 어디 디나다 디때 준주 때는 그게 디칭이나 아 로고긴 배 거의 양보 뭐네데 왔다 된데 그 상바 편이 내가 뭐네 타네 그라라 로도게야 된데 연구요.
So these practices are the instructions, so that not only showing the benefits and so forth, but also that helping you to day-to-day life to really develop your mind, develop your heart, and also to be somehow bring encouragement to your life. Whatever difficulties that one might face in one's life, all the stress and so forth. But if you follow this practice, can really help one's, to really tune one's life. even those who have so much depressions, or like even wanting to give one's own life, something like, if you really follow this path, this practice, then it can really encourage your life, how important, how precious one's life is, and how one can really meaningful by engaging into those practices.
동이 제단다 ngaranzu korbe nasine nyabasado 동이 checherba oda di ngaranzu miyu 동이 shebji chongane sti tangode miyu 동이르바 비기 채는 hen turso khorayo 마로 산남 khora쇼요 봐 제자 미 동이 디라테네 마오바 냥고야 그때 깨바 망고 냥고 동이 첨부 냥고야 때 큐jel베 삼단지 매버서야 디 세베톤에 소토고요 계속한다 세벤디 때비나 아니 다대 동의 춘주 차로 세대 동의 간가 춘주 뭐네 타네 이게 디식 차고 요래 니네 레라 삼탄 거봐 레 마사버 동의 연구 말어 봐 레 삼다 랑가 레사벨레 랑 코레 디스 삼바시다 로덥게 어디도 연구요 터전 디 카레스나 디 춘주 때 최통에 도전 되고 말 나예요 말
So this the practice, the patience, helping oneself to really go deeper and understand, and also seeing that the how one can take the suffering and pain and so forth, because when we look into the suffering of hell realm, so then that pain, that the experiences is much greater than the pain that we have now. So that if we really compare to the hell realm, the pain, so then our pain in the present is nothing, nothing at all. So therefore, so like if one is able to, be patient and tolerant of the difficulties of this life, then that, even short, very temporary pain can, the cause. So that the patience, the very short term, the patience can be a cause to be not to experience the such a great pain of the hell realm and so forth. So therefore, the result is such a great, and the practice of patience is so much the path, so that really completely not only overcoming the suffering, very temporal suffering, but the great suffering of the hell realm as well. So therefore, the patience is such a the practice or the path, so that purifying all the negativities that one have created in the past. So it becomes a great purification, and as according to the law of cause and effect, the karma, then we can see that the how one is small, the endurance, the forbearance can the eliminate the such a the great the karma, the great suffering of the future rebirth, the future the lower realms and so forth. So therefore, by believing, by understanding the law of cause and effect, the karma, so if one engage into the practice of the patience, then one can really make it meaningful, one can really achieve the great benefit of practicing patience.
대다 단다 캬즈 데바다 켰는다 라와는 거 중요하면 신경 말아 봐. 무슨 통요 말이야. 당아 변의 용벌 변의 용벌 인자 나 춘주가나 때때 ting거 동네 단다 ting거 그래서 제가 링네 사지 그게 좀 다디 마쇼기 디 미기 자나 마쇼 뭐도 요 말. 링네 사지 링네 사바 주제제 제세 닝버티게 하면 수사와 자요 말. 닝버티게 매서 떨어야지 말로. 요 말. 제가 디커도래야 딱 비게 마쇼 예배 딱 감각 충분다 그지 내 배지고 그래서 있어 말이야 감각 충분다 제가 변하는야 아니 딱 근데 용구로 미산 첨부 근데 딱 오늘 전에 미련에 미련 갈래 때문에 오늘 딱배 교자라 오늘 자 첨부 배 근데 용 구성도 된 오늘 전에 배 맞아 자 첨부 되게 감각 또 하고 배 매버지 쏘고야 아니 교자라 배 여기 감각 포 니머지를 포 장보 장장수 된데 어때 제벽가도르비 다취特만용도도 배 방다를 취네 배 녀체미 사실 녀 것이 시동이었다 뭐네 진짜 정원을 해서 되어 진짜 정성 당연한 시대미 고송도는 자신부터도 배당 개위를 봐. 양가시 개위를 배대 전에 뭐 뭐네 타네 배 ngar thoma nyong chi de sta khanda rang ke wi ti me wa su yu ko ya da pe te chik te che ko de ta ya te ma so che che ya sam tu ga de kha chi yong ta me kha she ga re sa na 이게 lapja de zo nyam ne ching to a ta le re ngo ne ta ne yin de ta kon me she te ta ta ka ra le sa sam dan da be kha ga go yang le ma ta te ke ken rang nyam ne ga tu che sam tu me shin da le lapja kya tu de ge wo din de je je de kya wa shi ran do non to chen
So, on this context, so that now here present, like for you, whatever, the see that which has, which you have, the great freedom and the great choices and so forth. But so some in the past. So even for myself, when I was in Tibet, so like in a very young age, I still remember time that where the people has gone through great difficulties, like for example the the cultural revolutions, and that time it may not be only in Tibet, but in many countries as well. But when I felt during that time, so the in the name of cultural revolution, so where they want to destroy all the good culture, or all the things of the past, and re-educate the newly, and so that which try to destroy everything, so all the of the past. So, however, during that time, so there are so many people has the gone hardships. So where in the name of cultural revolution, so not only destroy the many the monastery, or like the statues and so forth, but many rich people who has the wealth and so forth being somehow taken, and somehow so all the changes are done in the name of cultural revolution. So during that time, so there's so many people, those who lost everything, so they become like some they become like completely they're out of their mind. They become like crazy or something like that, or those who even give up their life. So because they become empty, having nothing when they have everything in the past, and so somehow the way of living standard become completely different. And there's so many people who experience great suffering because they have never felt that in the past. So those changes, when I see there, the great suffering are occurred, there no choice. And the same time, so there are those beings, holy beings, those who are practitioner. So same time, those who are able to control and remain calm. So during those, cultural revolution, so by accepting the fact and accepting the result as karma, and also being able to maintain the stability of mind. So not completely, despair, not completely, out of mind. So somehow they are able to keep their mind, able to keep their practice, and so forth, by following the great practice, great, the patience, and so forth. So even during that time, so the great practitioner were able to apply their practices. So therefore, one if one is able to follow the path practice, then whichever situation, then one can keep one's mind stable and keep into practice.
Why? What in the che? What in the do? Chazan. Chik. Chui term on you. Takanda to Shiraman, so Tangone Tanami Gange Terra. Take on the Tungikan, Tungin, Rangus, some people so talk was when I turn it up and I know what it is be Puso Toche. What did you? Takashi Karesana? Ah, the Karesan Yinguyama, the Quavet Casatan to take Tak Ness and the Yingushayama. Tingama Chichukan Podeshama, the Yinguyama, Okaresan could that manda, Sansa Yago, Sansa do. This one's Kadiji. What the thing is because someone does it, the chat, and I choose on what is this one's a huge big 준주다 다조 로종 냠년도 쇼지 편도 첨부래샤 강에 체베 그돌이야 랑랑 섬수당 섬쿠양 무슨 야게간에 다가래 약기부 중에 고 다가래 도구 중에 쌤스키는 뭐도 그치 그 고양보 뭐네 타네 그뒤인디기 요새 데레샤 세상디 편도 첨부시라래 그래서 그냥서 아니 준주디 딱 내가 단다 샤야디 다 마큐큐스에 시라 셰신게 말하다 소딘 대바 망고요래 아니 미 준주디 가사다 간다 시그나한테 망고 단다디 준주 단다디 스웨벨리우도 개첨부 시라래 니나 개 치슈지래 내당 아니 미게 와리야다 류고바 그 시를 류사때 때문에 타는 가서 와야 돼요 어때도 개 지단도 개첨부 간 거라 봐 재산 딜레 재산다 디린디 류투고디 딱 그승에만 이제 직 차수 시라 가보죠 소셔나
So therefore, like those the practices are important to understand them, and so those the great beings, so they are able to apply those practices into their daily lives. So whatever sufferings that they occur, still they are able to understand, keep them like in a stable mind. So as even when I was young, so I heard those words like the so the samsara does not have the essence. So meaning that the samsaric attitude, the worldly, the thought is always the coming out of the delusion, coming out of ignorance. So that leading oneself to the suffering. So that one cannot really find the way to relief, way to happiness. So when we look into those great beings who apply path and who apply those practices, who apply the mind training, and who apply this, the instruction of the Santideva, then those practices are the real practice that really can understand the depth of the samsara and also leading oneself to stable one's mind, so that which can give one's happiness. So therefore, you see, those the great practitioner in the past so has practiced this and followed their way to the happiness. And similarly, those of us, if one is able to follow this practice, especially this the Santideva's practice of this sixth chapter, the practice of tolerance or the patience, so which really help into our day-to-day life. So whatever difficulty that we have, whatever things we do, so if we follow this practice, that can really benefit, that can really bring one's life meaningful, that can one really put whatever sufferings that we may have, the depression, suffering and so forth, that one can really use this practice to benefit other and oneself, to really stabilize one's mind. At the same time, so those as in the past and like great beings, so also we can also follow this path. So in this Santideva's text, so this the sixth chapter is explained as one of the main important practices, and also another one is in the ninth chapter, the chapter of the wisdom. So that is also very the crucial the points so that are explained. So as those teachings here Santideva taught in great depth. So how we can really use them into our day-to-day path and leading oneself to the complete enlightenment. So I just explained very very simply or very shortly. So to able to go in depth, so one can find so many commentaries on this text. So therefore it becomes also very crucial the practice to really maintain one stable practice. So therefore to be able to have this opportunity to explain and also the practice this the practice of patience, so one should feel very fortunate, and I feel happy to go through these teachings.
되네 또 야리야 저때 다다가는 시 대면에 다가라 얘는 야리야 저도 받고 되네 거요 도로 다가는 시 대사수 그때 수고들 대사수는 당원에 자네게 수고들 요구 주고로 왔다간다 Thekchen ta sugu di yudu zamba ngamdu yudin kyaba jindi yuebe tuyudra khole lega yago chigo uta. Lega go ni ranga tuanda so uta. Tuanda karesa na rangla nyoba chingen zo de karesa na shedangsa kondro singidiri, kondro. Di karesa na sen daga rangla taman dik shirisa ganga tu xiao rangla ne, xianla ne, jala ne, o di che. Chimba penjali nyabata, durin duze kechu upo. Di songza nga zu dang wama di kondro sa di shedang sa kondro. Di song yin zang, ane, ta lega kar gu sa na, shedang sa di gyönt kade do, ligi samlo tangje, rangla neba chingin, dang wama di ko re sha san. Di samlo tang sheba chen, jeba chen, sheba chen, ko meba su. Ko meba su di zamba, ko gyönt ha ko, ane, Seve penyu, sem madu, sem nangu ku zhu xia guar ba, ganga zhung, sem de zhu xia. Wo di sunu di sem madu wo xe sueba ti, di ganga chamba de zeba sa ki, ani sem gyoba su ranga tuanda chambu ti ta che shu suen. Dene deba chen roya di, nga zu lui di, subu di yodo tela, so tu na, ani ngu chana.
So one can see that we have this human form, so that body that we have now. So usually how like we always take care our body. So like we grasp at this body, so that we always the so somehow like nourish our body with all the sense of like from the beginning till now. So so always we are into something that like giving good food, eating and everything, that we try to do all the sorts of things to keep our body fit or like healthy, and same time like we give our body care, not only with the food but also with we have good clothing, everything. So somehow like we every moment of time, so our thought is carrying our body. So this the body that we have taken care till now, so this for what purpose? So like mainly, so now what we have to do is somehow just taking care of our body, like giving food and having good clothes, so that for what purpose? So to use in the right way is that we need to make this the body to follow the right practice. So like for example every giving one's thought and mind to like like especially making this our body and mind to put into the practice, to the work. So how we need to work is that something we need to understand first. The hatred or anger is the real enemy. So this anger or hatred that leading oneself to unfortunate realm, unhappiness in this life and next life in the lower rebirths. So seeing that the all the negative results bring through this anger, so the how we can overcome this, how we can destroy this is only through by developing patience. The patience is the practice that can lead oneself to the happiness, to the complete enlightenment. So the patience is the practice that one can really overcome this anger or like those delusions. With patience, one can destroy all these negatives and to lead oneself to the positiveness and to stable one's mind. So by having the healthy body and the good nourishment is to practice and to overcome this anger by understanding it as a real enemy and by applying the right antidote of the patience. So when we are able to apply this antidote, the patience, then one can really achieve one's goal. One can overcome anger. One can overcome suffering. one can maintain one's mental peace. So this way, the practice of patience can be applied. So this, through the right attitude, by applying the patience with love and compassion. So the love and compassion also as a basis, the base, that developing the patience with the best way to eliminate all the anger, all this negative attitude that anyway that brings harm to oneself and other sentient beings.
어떠잖아. 이제 맞아 차 배자 망고 나래인데 여러분. 림부지 더 그렇죠. 린지 거리네 중야 류디. 맞아 류디 라나 카레 거네 그 찌그랬어. 류디 대송으로. 린지 림부지 더 자장 뭐네 타네게 삼무시다나 류디 그 제가 쉬우체도 제가 체도야. 아니 제가 전에 야가 뚝도 도구 매우서다 뭐네 다는 류디 뭐네 제도서 림부치도 몰라 그래. 제가 림부치도 류텔이야. 안 배주 땅다. 욕고 싶어 고니. 그 딱와 또때 그연 다想다 거기 내가 고니 욕고 파고 다 수수 전다데 가르스나. 아니 님어질이야 간다. 제가 다 간다 뒤주 튼뒤 있는다. 정도 가져 때니 소소요 가르스나. 아니 콘도사디 팬 가사 님이 콘도 치중 가르 지내라 선뚝 샤워라 디 동에 쓰고 여러분 어때 틴트서 비게 잡은 거 내서 잡았지 디체 아니 삼바 참바스에 팬도 디체나 교도샤 콘도 총총 쌤 누구든 백룡룡 거 잡았잖아 그 매버스 야가대 앞에 거디 디소도 자다 어떻게 나서 이집 미지기 아니 준주대도 세나 아니 또와또 자금钱이 어떻게 제비나 안문에 자네게 딱 가서 류들 예배 문에 자네 거쳐 그래 편도 첨부 자다 근데 편도 있는 딱 증이지나 당문에 류들 또 대셔 또대 세는 것 때문에 아그 돈다 같이 오시는데 문에 자네 제초지 문에 자네 거봐요 도전
So having this body, the precious body, as we value very much and as we call it very precious human life, so having this precious only is not sufficient. So to be able to use in the right way, to make it positive, so is to engage into the analyzing, analytical practice and way to overcome the anger and to develop the great patience, so that using this precious human life into the right way. So if not, so then we may just say the precious life and feed the good food and good clothes, but if we don't make it meaningful, if we don't use to reduce our anger, if we don't use to reduce our hatred, and if we don't meditate or analyze on how one can develop patience and so forth, and by sitting in one place, then the precious human body or our human life becomes wasted. So not to waste this precious human life, then engaging into the patience, trying at least giving some time each day to meditate, practice, analyze on those aspects of the faults of the anger and the benefits of the practicing patience. So each day, if we make time and to practice, so then that will be more meaningful. So then that will be worth. So that calling that our human life precious, and trying to create this human life with any causes. So however, so what we need to do is that so each day or each moment, so try to develop love and compassion, and try to train one's mind, try to make anger less anger, try to develop patience, so that way then one can create a good cause to achieve enlightenment. That way, that the precious human life becomes more meaningful. So we'll stop the teachings tonight here. So if any questions, we can do.
Chair, ask a question. For normal people like us, patients usually being mistaken as coward. So can Rinpoche please enlighten us or identify the difference between patients and not being known as coward?
Tanda ngazo midinzo namgyu ta ngazo soba gom sa de ngazo ta mijigi da nyabje shewa na ngazo soba gom de na midinzo ko logo mindus lagres ko nyabje shewa ra tende ngazo soba gom ba na ko logo megyo da ane garso gore tende lago res ta so da soba gom ba di logo me bare bes tende to kadesinas
mare soba gom to kundan ran logo yo ta de logo yo ba da
the meetings of some lot that
loss.
Loss. Yeah. So yeah, like actually should think other way around. Yeah.
그래서나 서버연나 파존에 칸에직 세계 있는다. 라고 쉬고 있는 파존데 지게나 소소 서버연나 섬 주고야 말. 섬 뭐도 체 콘도야 말와. 아니 파 렌시하고 있으면 따따 거라. 렌 퇴퇴 뭐 매탕만 따따 거라. 렌 잡두고 그게 셰두고. 그게 셰고 전에.
So yeah, like how we see like our perception on the patients. So that patients in such a way that we have patience, or like when we tolerate something, then that means we are very conscious, and we have the right the mind, so that the courage to be able to face any kind of problems. So that's why you can see that the patience is not a cowardly things. It's like more like kind of bravery. Yeah. So the patience means stability. That means when we have anger, so then our mind becomes unstable. But when we have patience, means our mind is very focused and stable.
Okay. So man, Hondo Chimbolana, and gets a carjum and drink sheshata. Shamahoga shesharuda. That's you go to dishes on the candere, tina, that you go kakocha.
Because we can just see when there's anger, then out of anger you say all the things so that might not be appropriate, or whatever things that comes out from your mouth, but later you might remorse, or like if in the argument, then or if somebody judge you, then you will lose when you say something everything out of anger.
Lando should have looked over. Kuma guess. Kuma guess. That's you go. Kuma Kadugus or Kana Karisha. That that's you go sorry sugar. What is that?
So that out of anger, then you can say so many wrong words to other. So like in Tibetan saying that usually when they say bad word, you say like you are thief. Then you just say out of anger, but like in reality he may not be a thief. So then he may argue back. to prove he's a thief or something like that.
오케이. 안 그래서 콘도 첨부 챘나? 안테요. 년반낭시. 년바로 봐. 년반낭시스 뒤요마. 용구마다.
So therefore, the anger is like a diluted mind. So it just makes you to lose.
안 그래 첨부 나는 파 두바 쇼고스는 슈투 말았어 봐. 더 시켜도 타켜네. 쇼고스만 슈랑 슈샤더네.
Yeah. So your
잘라티게자 잘라간 슈.
so the anger makes you to uncontrol your physical body as well. Somehow, if this anger is too strong, then even if you want to do strike something, you cannot really do straight away, or you just want to break something. So that's something uncontrolled mind and body.
사실 뭐 되겠을 때 다가 나가시면 또 안거도 예비나 디 콘도도 예나 아니 콘도 가져서 다 먹기 비차 그래 시험 먹기 벌써 아니 대선자 통다 뭐만 경험다 그래 잘라자 아니 미마가 체 다가라 경험나 깨다 독자 미 독자를 체 경험라고요 콘도 매버체 서버연나 뭐네 타네 글로고요 캡산세 다가네 캡산요 깨제 시작부터 야구 잡아체 시작도거든 다가나신 가리네 강가 치토 내가 근데 시고 전에 랑가 내가 가리선 콘도 켜내 거 콘도 매버던 강가 치토 도거를 좀 쉬고 주는 쉬토
So therefore, with anger, so that one will be misled, and so that any action that one might do, so that might be non-virtuous and so forth. Therefore, the anger has all the faults. So by as well as patience has the stability and always into the right thought, and so somehow the mind becomes very clear, and so the every action we take becomes very clear. So therefore, with understanding this, we can just see the the anger and the patience. So by comparing this, one can analyze and see which has the gain and which has the loss. So therefore, one can figure out the which one need to follow.
오케이. 그렇잖아. 다 가셔야지. 다기는 고려 가요.
Okay, so we stop. So as you're tired, so we stop.